Hello everyone, welcome back to another Swift tutorial. So in this tutorial, we are going to continue part 5 of Make a Drawing App series. So before that, let's give some comments. They are 15 seconds of fame. So over here, there are 3 comments. The first 2 comments are suggesting when is Drawing App Part 5 is being released. And so thanks for the suggestions. Part 5. This is part 5. And over here, for the third comment, this user suggested importing an image from the gallery, then drawing on the image, and then saving the image as a whole. So let me just show you what that means. And by the way, thanks all 3 of you for your suggestions. So remember, I am listening to the suggestions, so make sure you comment often, so that I know what you guys want to see on my channel next. Anyway, let's take a look at what does this importing an image mean. So if I click on this save icon, I get an action sheet, and I can either pick an image, save my drawing, or just dismiss. So I'm gonna pick an image, and let's pick this waterfall. Okay, looks good. Now let's go on red and let's do some stuff. Alright, now let's save our drawing, and now if we go to our home, there you have it. Alright, excellent. So one other feature that I added to this drawing app is that this settings view controller actually works partially. So what that means, if I click on this, and let's say I change the colors to, let's say, maybe this weird color. I think it's turquoise, but whatever. And now if I click dismiss and I try to draw on it, boom, we get a custom color. How cool is that? So you are going to be learning how to do this, and if I click on this pack, as you can see, these values are still the same. And we also get a slight preview of what the colors look like. Fantastic. And also reset, and there you have it, it's empty. Cool. So I hope you guys are as excited as I am. So without further ado, let's get right into the tutorial. Alright, so I'm going to open up the drawing app Xcode project, and it should be open up in a few seconds. Alright. So in the last tutorial, we stopped at setting up the settings view controller, and in this video tutorial, we are going to allow the user to pick a random color or custom color using these RGB sliders, and also allow the user to import an image and then draw on the image. So let's do the easier one first. So basically, we want to allow the user to pick an image, then allow the user to draw on that image. So to do that, first we need to allow the user to pick an image from their photo library. So we're going to create an extension of this view controller, and we want to inherit this from the UI navigation controller delegate, and we also want to inherit from the UI image picker controller delegate protocol. And once the user has finished picking their image, we first want to get the image that they have picked. And to actually get the image that they picked, we can use this info dictionary. So to get the image that they picked, what we want to do is to access the UI image picker original image. So from here, we got the user image, and what we want to do now is to actually create a variable which will store what image that the user picks, and I'm going to call this the selected image, like so. And what I'm going to do is to assign the value of the selected image to whatever the user picked, and then I need to cast this as a UI image, like so. Alright, so now that we've got the user image, it's time to set up the image picker controller. So to set up the image picker controller, what I'm going to do is to go to this save function, and I'm actually going to create an action sheet. So let's create an action sheet, and this will be a UI alert controller, and the title of this will be pick your option. Message, let's set it to nil or nothing, and the preferred style will be a dot action sheet. Okay, so now we're going to add an action to this action sheet by using the add action function, and this takes a parameter of a UI alert action, and the title of this will be picked an image, and the style will be dot default. And the next action that we want to add is another UI alert action, and this will allow the user to save an image, save your drawing, like so. As usual, the style will be dot default. The handler, in this case, what I want to do is double click it and double click it like so. Alright. So what I'm going to do is to set this as the this underscore, because we are not going to use this action anywhere in our closure. Alright, so this is the option that will allow the user to pick an image. So to actually allow the user to pick an image, first we need to create an image picker. So this will be a UI image picker controller, UI image picker controller. Then we want to set the source type, which essentially means where does the user get its images, and you want the user to get these images from the photo library. Then we also want, just to keep things simple, we're going to not allow editing, and last but not least, we want to set the delegate of this image picker to our view controller. Alright, and after we have configured these various options of the image picker, we can present this image picker animated true, completion nil. Alright, and to actually allow the user to save the drawing, what I'm going to do is to essentially just cut this code and just paste it here. Alright, and because we're in a closure, we need to add the self keyword, and for this we also need to add the self keyword. Alright, and last but not least, now that we have created the action sheet, the last thing I want to do is to present this action sheet that we have just created. Alright, so now let's try to run it on an iPhone 7 and see how it looks. Alright, so now if we were to click this save icon, we can choose to either pick an image or save a drawing. So, and one flaw in the design I noticed is that there's no cancel option. So actually let's add one more action to this action sheet, and this will again UI alert action, and the title will be cancel, and the style will be dot default, and the handler will be nil. Okay, and let me just change the style of this to default, and let's try to build and run it. Okay, so now I click this, I click cancel. Alright, so now let's test out the features in this action sheet. So first let's try saving my drawing. So I'm going to draw some random thing, and let's try saving it now. Save my drawing, and I'm going to go to my home, then go to my photos. Alright, so this is where my drawing is. Now let's go back to our drawing app, and now let's try to pick an image. So we can pick an image. I'm going to pick this mountain thingy, and that's all we do, because once you have picked an image, we didn't dismiss. So let's dismiss the this image picker, Then we also need to handle the fact that the user may not want to pick an image, so we need to handle that as well. So did cancel. So the image picker controller did cancel. Then all we just want to do is to dismiss, like so. Dismiss true, completion nil, because we don't want any completion blocks to run. So let's try it again. Click this, pick an image, and let's pick this waterfall. Oh, it gets dismissed. Okay, so once we got the user's selected image, all you just want to do is to set the image view dot image equals to the selected image. Okay, and now let's try to run it for one last time, and let's see how does the import image do. So let's try to pick an image, select this rainfall. Alright, and we can draw it. And now if we try to save it, and let's go to our photos albums, there you have it. Pretty simple. Cool. Alright, so now that we have overcome this feature, okay, basically to allow the user to import an image and then draw in it and then save it. Now what's left is to actually allow the user to pick a custom color using the RGB sliders in the settings view controller. Alright, so first I'm going to head into the main.storyboard and click on this settings icon and drag this all the way to this settings VC, and then we're going to choose present modally. Now click on this arrow, and over here you can see all kinds of properties that you can change of this storyboard segue. So what I want to do is to change the transition. There are actually many types of transitions, but the one I'm looking for is cross dissolve. Alright, so now let's heading back to our settings VC. So over here, whenever the rate slider is changed, what I'm going to do is to reflect the value of the rate slider onto this rate label. So let's try things out. So first I'm going to get a reference to the slider using this sender argument that's being passed in here. So sender as a UI slider. Okay, so now that we have got the slider, what we can do now is we can set the value of this rate label. Let's change the text of this rate label to slider dot value. Then we want to multiply this by 255. Okay, so now let's try again and see how things go. Go to settings and we're going to red. Alright, so as you can see, the values are arbitrary, and that's because we need to round them as an integer. So let me just wrap this slider.value multiplied by 255. I wrap this in an integer, and now it should be much more elegant. So go over here, change the value. Alright, and also now we also want to have 3 variables which will store the following RGB values. So the red in this case would be the float, or CG float. We need a blue, we need a green, and this will also be a CG float, and we also need a blue, and this will be another CG float. Alright, so now whenever the rate slider is changed, what we want to do is to update the value of this red. So red would be equal to this int would be equal to slider. Okay, so now whenever the value of this rate slider is changed, we want to update the value of this red variable by using slider dot value, like so. Okay, so now that we have updated, and because this is a float, we need to convert this to a CG float, like so. Then we also want to have another function that will allow us to draw the preview, and this would need a red CG float, a green CG float again, and you guessed it, blue, and another CG float. And in the draw preview, all we're just gonna do is to get a reference to this image view. So the image view dot background color, we're gonna change the background color of this image view, and let's use the red, green, and blue initializer, and let's just simply pass in this red, green, blue variables. Alright, so now whenever this red is changed, I'm going to call the draw preview function and pass in red, green, and blue. Okay, and now essentially we're going to do the same thing over and over again for the green and a blue. Okay, so let me just change this to green. And this will be the green label. This will be the blue, and in this case, this will be the blue label. Alright, so now let's try to build and run it and just test whether things work. So now if I go to my settings VC, I try changing it, I get an error. Great. Now let's take a look at what's the error. So the error is that it found nil, and let's take a look at where's nil. Let's take a look. The green and blue are nil. Alright, because we haven't touched the sliders of the green and blue, hence the value of both green and blue are nil. So let's just give them a default value, like so. Let's try to build and run it again. And now let's try to change the sliders. Alright, excellent. Okay, so now that we have the colors work, what we want to do now is to pass this red, green, and blue variables to the drawing view controller. To do that, we need a protocol, a class protocol, and this protocol, let's call this the settings VC delegate. And because this will be a class only protocol, let's add the class, and over here let's have a function, and let's call this settings view controller did finish. And then we want to have one argument, and this will be the settings VC. Alright. Okay, so now that we have defined this settings VC delegate, let's have a delegate property of the settings VC class, and let's call this settings VC delegate. Okay, so in this dismiss method, what we're going to do is to check whether the delegate is empty or has a value, and if it has a value, all we're going to do is to call this function, and this function will be the settings view controller finish that we have declared in the settings VC delegate protocol. And over here, all we're going to do is to assign self as the parameter. Then we want to dismiss this view controller, okay, like so. Pretty standard procedure. And now to actually pass data back into this drawing view controller, what we're gonna do is we are going to add another extension, and this extension would be the settings VC delegate. Alright, so now we have an error, and that's because we didn't conform to the settings VC delegate protocol, and because we didn't implement the required methods. So let's implement the required methods, and all we're just gonna do is to pass data from the settings VC to this view controller. So let's set settings VC.read. So now we're passing the red value from the settings VC to this view controller, and now we're going to do the same for green, and let's do the same for blue. Alright, and just over here, okay, after the did receive memory warning function, we're going to override the prepare for segue method. First, we want to call the super function. Okay, next, what we're gonna do is that we want first to get a reference to the settings VC. So first, let's get a reference to the settings VC using segue.destination as a settings VC. Next, I'm gonna set the delegate of this settings VC to self, which is our view controller. Then what we're gonna do is to pass our data to the settings VC. So let's try it. Red equals to red, settings VC dot green equals green, and settings VC dot blue equals to blue. Alright. Alright. So now, essentially, all we have done is that we are passing data back and forth from the view controller and the settings VC. And here in the view did load, all I'm going to do is to call the draw preview using the red, green, and blue. Then, what I'm going to do is to set the rate slider dot value. I'm going to change the value to whatever is in the red. Okay, something like that. And because red is a CG float, I need to convert this to a float. Then we also need to change the rate label.text equals to int red slider dot value. Alright. Now let's do the same for green and blue. And now we're having an error here, and that's because this is a string. So let's just convert this int to a string instead. Now I want to copy this and just paste it over here. Alright, so this would be the green slider. This would be green. This would be green slider. And this would also be the green slider. This would be the blue slider. Blue label. And this would be the blue slider. Alright, so now let's try to play it. We're having an error because a green slider doesn't have a text property. I mistype it as a green label. So now let's try to build and run it again. So now let's choose teal. We're gonna send it VC. Our settings view controller gets updated, and if we try to change it, let's say get this nice purple color. Try drawing. Boom! How cool is that? So now let's try another one. Let's try this. Let's miss. Boom. Now what I really don't like is that these values are all 0. Let's investigate why this value is 0. And that's because we forgot to multiply it by 255, and then it truncates the value of the respective sliders to 0. Okay, and hence it's represented as 0. So we need to multiply it to by 255 such that it will be represented properly. Okay, so let's try things again. Try to adjust things. draw some stuff, and there you have it. It automatically gets updated. Cool. So now I think that concludes part 5 of Make a Drawing app. Right, so we have accomplished a lot today. We passed data back and forth from the view controller and the settings VC. We also learned how we can import an image. So let's try to pick an image, and let's choose the one with this, and we can draw it, and we can even choose our own colors. Excellent. Alright, so I think this concludes the end of this video tutorial. Let me know what you guys want to see next in this video tutorial, and as usual, this is Ben. Peace out.